Standup Comedy, your host and MC, presents Comedy Appetizers, a podcast where you will find short comedy sets, stories, and funny bits from the famous and not so famous. Here is your host and MC, Scott Edwards.
Hi, and welcome to this week's special bonus show. We have another terrific tip from Bob Worley, our professional. Ladies and gentlemen, this week he's going to be sharing some great advice on President's Day. Here he is, the one and only Bob Worley.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you. And thank you to your viewers. Scott, before we get started on this week's tips, I feel like I need to clarify something I said on Valentine's Day.
Well, what's that, Bob? The Valentine's special was a lot of fun. We all learned something, at least for next year.
Yeah, I know, but I said a couple of things that weren't true. Like, I implied that my lovely wife, Bernard, and I were married for 45 years.
You mean Bernice?
Exactly. I wanted to clarify that we've only been married for 42 years. But we actually dated for 3 years because before we tied the knot. You see, I felt at the time, and I still do, Scott, by the way, that it was very important that she was of legal age before we got married.
Yeah, that is important. I appreciate you clarifying that, but still a great length of marriage. Good job. Those are all important things to consider before getting hitched.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to make sure your viewers didn't think I was, some kind of a cradle robber or some kind of a creep. I'm not one of those slime balls that hangs around elementary school, although I do work as a crossing guard. But I keep it strictly professional.
Well, of course you do. I'm sure you handle yourself very well around the children.
Anyways, I just wanted to clear that up.
Okay. Well, so how was your Valentine's Day?
Scott, that was in the past. I'm not one to look back at things and say, oh, I wish I'd done this or I should have done that. I like to look forward to the next holiday, which, as you know, is President's Day.
Oh, right. President's Day. That was...
Scott, I really been working on this holiday, and I've been really looking forward to it. You know why? I'll tell you why. Because I tell you right now, we really need a mattress. I mean, the one we have now is horrible. This is the day of the year where you can actually get a decent mattress at a decent price because there's sales everywhere. And the only time I ever bow down to a king, and that king is Wally, the king of mattress world. Man, that guy has some crazy sales going on this Monday.
Well, Bob, President's Day was last Monday, 2 days ago.
What? Man, I got to get a freaking calendar.
Well, I thought you were going to talk about President's Day and who your favorite president was.
Sure. Well, I might as well now. I mean, it's not like I'm going to go out and get a new comfortable mattress. Gosh, darn it. Well, Scott, here in the good old U.S. of A., we have what's called presidents. Now, we don't have kings. We don't have emperors, no dictators or guys with funny hats. Unless, of course, you're talking about Wally the Mattress King, where he rules with an iron fist over the mattress kingdom.
Well, Bob, you've got to get over that mattress thing. Let's get to who's your favorite president.
Okay, but first, Scott, I want to let you know about the beauty of the United States of America and how our democracy sets a good example and a beacon of hope for the rest of the world on how democracy works. You see, Scott, we have what's called the peaceful transfer of power, where one administration to the next, where the outgoing president invites the incoming president and all the former living presidents into the Oval Office, where they shake hands and smiles and eat snacks and play good, and then they all head out to the podium for the inauguration of the next president, all for the world to see that this is how we do it in America.
Yeah, you're sure, Bob, but who's your favorite president?
Well, Scott, that's an easy one for me. It has to be, hands down, the Whig Party guy, the 9th President of the United States, William Henry Harrison. That's right, Scott, Harrison. With his running mate, John Tyler, who ran with the campaign slogan, Tippecanoe and Tyler too. Man, that's catchy. Scott, Harrison is famous for buying the very first mattress on sale that very first President's Day.
Wow.
A lot of people don't know that. And he also gave the longest inaugural address on record. He talked for over 80 minutes. Sound familiar, Scott? Sounds like you're about to bring up the headliner for the evening? Oh, yeah, that's you.
Well, I did have a little bit of a reputation of doing a little time, but I never did 80 minutes.
Oh, but you could have. It seemed like 80 sometimes. But, but unlike him, Scott, you were always very entertaining. But in Harrison's speech, here's the important thing. He promised not to run for another term. And a few months later, after dying from pneumonia in that beautiful, comfortable bed of his, he tragically died in office. Therefore, keeping his promise of not running for another term, or as far as I even know, he's the only president who's ever managed to keep a campaign promise.
So that's why he's your favorite president.
Not only is he my favorite president, Scott, but he should be everybody's favorite president. Anyways, that's all I got for you today. Until next time, Scott, God bless America.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, Bob Worley shared some interesting information about Harrison, the president, and we apparently tied it into mattress sales. And well, we hope you enjoyed that very patriotic talk by our friend Bob Worley. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Stand-Up Comedy, your host and MC.
God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Comedy Appetizers. Be sure to share with family and friends, and we will see you this Sunday for our regular podcast, your host and MC, and again next Friday for another episode of Comedy Appetizers. Bye!